When we went to bed on Thursday night, we were excited about the next day because after 2 days at sea, we would finally make our first landings of the cruise. Naturally, we'd seen photos and videos of Antarctica, but nothing prepared us for what we saw when we opened the curtains and stepped out onto the balcony the following morning. While we waited for our group to be called to the tender pit for our Zodiac cruise, we just stood on our balcony and looked in amazement at the beauty of Börgeon Bay and Amber's Island. When our group was called, we couldn't wait to see Antarctica up close. Look at you, Bubba.
No, sir.
In the unlikely circumstance... Oh, actually, I'll introduce myself first. You need to know my name.
Okay.
So, my name's Teal.
Teal, I knew it was a T.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So, a few things. In the unlikely circumstance that one of you were to go into the water, don't panic if you see me driving away from you. I will be driving away from you first, so I can come back to you in a safer manner, rather than having to turn around and risking having the engine near you. So don't worry if I'm driving away from you. That is, and in the even more unlikely circumstance that I were to fall in, don't worry, because
Oh, you could stop the engine.
Just like a
the
jet
engine
ski.
will stop itself as soon as I kind of walk far enough away. What time did I say we'd be back? 11:30. Looks like they've got a seal on top of the iceberg there.
Oh yeah, he's still there.
Oh.
Couple of them.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's too big.
We'll just wait for that.
Yeah, we
we'll
come
get a bit
around.
close, but we don't want to spend too long with him just because we don't want to disturb him. So we'll, if we get close and we see any signs of disturbance, I'm going to start backing away just to let you know beforehand. Kind of looking around a lot, it's kind of indicating they're a bit more stressed, and then they'll, yeah. But to me, that looks like it is a leopard seal, just initially.
A big yawn. During our cruise, we saw ice caving off a nearby glacier. The video doesn't do the sound justice.
We will, but if you ever see a leopard seal try to eating a penguin, wow!
Oh, holy.
Wow, look at that.
That's the sound you wanted to
That is a big one.
That's huge.
And now, then look at this wave now, you can see why we don't want to get closer. I'll just... Okay, if everyone sits down again, I think we're going to leave just because...
Teal, one of the excellent expedition leaders, was a wealth of Antarctic information and made the ride quite enjoyable.
Two big glaciers coming off Anvers Island here, and then it's separated by the Gateway Ridge.
Okay.
So the, at the back there is Gateway Ridge leads to Mount Francis, which is the highest mountain on Anvers Island. It was first climbed in 1955 by a British team who were surveying the island, and they were trying to get across to the Hooper Glacier. They couldn't because of the Gateway Ridge, so they ended up having to go up and ended up climbing Mount Francis.
All right. After the leopard seal and glacier caving, we came across a Weddell seal on another iceberg. And after we moved away, Teal and the other Zodiac driver shut off their engines so we could witness Antarctic silence.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
Should we do the Antarctic silence, engine off in a minute?
Yes. So I just explained.
Yeah, so we'll, for the next minute, I don't want to hear any cameras clicking, we'll just relax, ignore the engine noise of those other boats. We're trying to really listen to the snow falling on the water, listen to if you see the popping of the air escaping from the ice, any carvings possibly, but
How high up? How good is that? Good. It's beautiful.
everyone enjoy that?
That was
so it'll be quite a bit of up and down on the walk, and then it'll be pretty non-stop as well. So we'll start. We'll bring you ashore, and then we'll get these snowshoes on. So you'll try and put snowshoes on yourself, and then it'll be pretty continuous walking all the way. So we'll try and go up to the top of Tombstone Hill first, which is a little point on Damoy Point, and then we'll go down and up to a ridge, see if we can see Port Lockroy, if the fog clears firstly, and then we'll head back down and then over around the other side of Tombstone Hill towards back to the landing site.
I want that nice bird in front of it. It was on this side.
As we headed back to the ship, Teal gave us a quick rundown of the lineage of the Hurtigruten cruise line.
Yeah. So you can never see that gold star on the front of the ship.
Yeah.
So that was actually, Hurtigruten used to be many different companies that ran different sections of the coastal route. So over time these companies kind of, what's the word coming together?
Merge?
Merged. Yeah, so these companies went all merged together. But when Hurtigruten merged with the Börgeon steamship company, Börgeon had all their ferries had the gold star on the front, and ever since then Hurtigruten has been doing the same as well. So Hurtigruten is kind of this big amalgamation of all these different companies that ran the coastal express along the Norwegian coast.
Once we were back on the ship, we got back into our regular clothes and had lunch while the ship moved a few miles to the east, where we would make our first actual landing at Damoy Point, where we would visit a preserved British research station. Built on a rocky outcrop surrounded by penguins and caving glaciers, the small wooden hut is known fondly by some as the world's most southerly waiting room. It was established by the British in 1975 when Royal Research Ship John Briscoe arrived with a crew of researchers who unloaded prefabricated plywood insulated sheets, and in a week's time the band of amateur builders had built Damoy for shelter. The hut became redundant in 1993, and by 2007 the building was due for demolition. However, it was saved and preserved by the UK's Antarctic Heritage Trust. Since 2009, the modest hut has been visited by more than 14,000 tourists each season. The hut, which still contains everyday paraphernalia, appears frozen in time as if the men had just left the day before. For many years, the hut was bright blue, but just a few weeks before we arrived, it was repainted in its original orange color. After touring the hut, we hiked to the nearby Gen 2 penguin colonies where we saw dozens of penguins, many of which who were nursing chicks.
For the whole life. The whole season here. And then our 7 months, whatever.
As we hiked, the near silence of this place was obvious. The only sounds present were people speaking in hushed tones, penguin vocalizations, and the crunch of snow under our feet. God, look, you finally see the top of the mountain.
Oh, you can.
Wow. Wow.
You hear a slight wind.
Yeah. Over dinner and drinks that night, we reflected on our first day in Antarctica. In the span of 2 hours, we'd witnessed caving glaciers, saw seals and penguins in their natural habitat, went back 30 years in time at Damoy, and stood in awe at the startling beauty of the continent. This trip started out as a destination, a bucket list box to be checked. But as we watched the sunset that night, it was clear that the next 2 weeks would be the adventure of a lifetime.